couple of months have been hard for specifically Punjabi truck drivers. The CDL issue, the non domiciled CDL issue, has taken them off guard.
There are a lot of people who are here in the United States of America who are working, who are legally here in the United States of America, legally able to work, who are qualified and certified commercial drivers. And they're the ones who are the target for this very cruel and very foolish policy. So yesterday, I've been working on this and
Okay.
trying to make sure that we're trying to bring about all the pressure we can to get the administration to stop this dangerous and foolish policy. And
What did they say? What are they saying? What the administration saying on this?
well, they're not budging.
Okay.
They've drawn this line, and there's no evidence that because someone is an immigrant, they're unsafe to drive a truck. You know, the fact of the matter is, the standard needs to be, as it is now, if you pass the test and you're qualified and you're healthy and you can read and speak English, you can drive one of these trucks. And the people who are losing their jobs have already passed all of those tests. They're certified. They understand, read, and speak English. So this is not an issue of safety. This is an attack on an immigrant population within our district and across the country.
Do you think this is going to have a problem on supply chain?
Absolutely, it is. It's going to slow the supply chain down. It's going to make it more difficult for people to get perishable crops to market.
And they think about giving these people, these folks, some time so they can change their careers or something?
Well, that's why we have to bring pressure on the administration to get them to back off their insistence that they not issue these licenses. Safety is absolutely everybody's first concern. So we have to make sure these drivers are licensed. They meet all the standards. They're able to safely drive these vehicles, and that should be the only qualification. It should not be what country they're from, what color their skin happens to be. If they can drive, if they can pass the test, if they can speak the language and read the signs, if they are safe to put behind the wheel, they should be allowed to drive. ICE is out of control. And we went through, I led the effort against Kristi Noem and getting her removed from her job because she created a rogue agency in ICE, and we saw what happened. It disrupted communities. People were killed. It was tragic. But we do need to have an agency that is a law-abiding agency, not a rogue agency.
There was recently DOJ FBI Operation Hardball. Indian transnational repression issues came to limelight.
But nobody should be singled out because are unfairly targeted based on their religion or their race. So we need to make sure that everybody is treated equally under the law, and anyone who commits a crime is held accountable. And my commitment is to make sure that happens, and nobody should be silenced under false pretenses.
Punjabi Radio USA ਦੇ ਉੱਤੇ ਸਵਾਗਤ ਹੈ ਮੈਂ ਰਾਜਕਨਵੀਰ ਸਿੰਘ Today in the show I have with me California District 4 US Congressman Mike Thompson. Congressman Thompson, welcome to the show.
Thank you very much. It's good to be with you.
A lot of our listeners live in the areas you represent. I'll come straight to the point, Congressman Thompson. Last couple of months have been hard for specifically Punjabi truck drivers. The CDL issue, the non-domiciled CDL issue, has taken them off guard. Their livelihood has been shaken. So I just wanted to know what is happening and what are your thoughts on that?
Well, it's a terrible situation. You're absolutely correct. The truck drivers have been harmed. Many of them have lost their ability to drive, to make an income, to take care of themselves and their families. The people that they were driving for, the people that own the trucks, they're being harmed because they can't get the truck drivers they need in order to run their business. And then the customers of those trucking companies, the people who hire the truckers to haul things for them, either in our case, agricultural products that they grow, they need to get those to market. And then also all of the things that they need in order to run a profitable agricultural business. All of their supplies and their equipment, they need the trucks to bring that to them at their on their farms and on their ranches. And what happened was, in an effort to quote unquote make the roads safer, and this is what the White House came out with. They threatened every state for that they would lose their federal transportation funding if they issued commercial licenses to anyone who is here on a work visa, or someone who is a dreamer, someone who's not a permanent citizen of the United States. And there are a lot of people who are here in the United States of America who are working, who are legally here in the United States of America, legally able to work, who are qualified and certified commercial drivers. And they're the ones who are the target for this very cruel and very foolish policy. And I have a lot of the folks who are being harmed are in my district, and both the drivers and the customers and the trucking companies. So yesterday, I've been working on this and trying to make sure that we're trying to bring about all the pressure we can to get the administration to stop this dangerous and foolish policy. And
what did they say?
Pardon me?
What did they say now? What are they saying? What the administration saying on this?
My constituents?
The administration.
Oh, they're not budging. They've drawn this line, and there's no evidence that because someone is an immigrant, they're unsafe to drive a truck. You know, the fact of the matter is, the standard needs to be, as it is now, if you pass the test and you're qualified and you're healthy and you can read and speak English, you can drive one of these trucks. And the people who are losing their jobs have already passed all of those tests. They're certified. They understand, read, and speak English. So this is not an issue of safety. This is an attack on an immigrant population within our district and across the country. And I've heard from folks who I've heard from the Sikh community who've been harmed, the wine community over in Napa and Sonoma County, they're being harmed by this. The other agricultural folks in Yolo and Solano County, they're harmed by this, and they can't get drivers. The Teamsters, the union that represents truck drivers, they're concerned because these products still need to move. And if there aren't drivers to drive the trucks, somebody else is going to have to haul them.
Do you think this is going to have a problem on supply chain?
Absolutely, it is. It's going to slow the supply chain down. It's going to make it more difficult for people to get perishable crops to market. It's going to cause the drivers who are still in the pool to have to drive more. and that's causes a safety concern, and
Hmm.
it's going to cause prices to go way up, and it's
Hmm.
already doing that. Well, one person, we had a big Zoom meeting with constituents from every county in my district, and
Hmm.
one constituent has reconfigured the vehicles that their drivers drive. So these
Hmm.
are people who were driving workers in a large van, and now they've reduced the number of passengers that they can drive, so they can do it with a regular license, not a commercial license. So that means
Okay.
they're less efficient. It takes more trips, which cost more gas and more time. So
Hmm.
it's creating a situation that's more costly, it's disruptive, and it's dangerous.
So you heard yesterday. I think there was some kind of meeting on this issue. So what was the discussions over there? What were they saying? Like, are they not at all budging as you mentioned before, or like, is there some middle ground somewhere?
Well, as I said, I heard from farmers and ranchers who
Hmm.
can't get their crops and can't get their livestock to market. I've heard from folks who have downgraded their buses to 9 passenger vehicles
Hmm.
plus the driver. It costs them more, takes longer in order to get their folks where they need to go. I've heard from the trucking companies how it's increasing their costs, and everybody's very, very concerned about it. I've asked them to document their concerns so we can use that as we mount our effort to overturn this foolish rule. And I had with me at the
Hmm.
meeting the ranking member of the Transportation Committee and his staff. So they're very attuned to this, and they're working it hard. So this documentation will help them make their argument. And I've also asked them to rally different organizations
Hmm.
that could help put pressure on the administration to reverse this effort. Everyone from the Farm Bureau, the different companies that are being impacted, the chambers of commerce, both at the state level and the local level, and all the trucking associations. So hopefully we're building up some momentum
Hmm.
that we can be successful in getting the administration to reverse its policy.
Congressman, do you think, as you know, that a lot of them, a lot of these truck drivers, they have families, they have built their life over there, thinking that, okay, this is something they can do all year long, provide for their families. Now they are unsure what they can do. California says that we issued the licenses as per FMCSA rules. FMCSA DOT is saying we're going to take your millions of dollars of funding if you keep issuing these. So they are in the crossroads. Do you think they have some transition time? Can they think about giving these people, these folks, some time so they can change their careers or something?
Well, that's why we have to bring pressure on the administration to get them to back off their insistence that they not issue these licenses. Uh, Safety is absolutely everybody's first concern. So we have to make sure these drivers are licensed, they meet all the standards, they're able to safely drive these vehicles, and that should be the only qualification. It should not be what country they're from, what color their skin happens to be. If they can drive, if they can pass the test, if they can speak the language and read the signs, if they are safe to put behind the wheel, they should be allowed to drive.
Hmm. No, no, definitely. This issue has taken national limelight. Do you think this is just another ploy for immigration crackdown, or this is like versus California kind of thing, or is it a bit of both?
Well, it's more than California. This is a national effort that they're doing, but it's very clearly an effort to crack down on the immigration issue. And as I said, the people that are being impacted are here legally.
Hmm.
It's not that they've come to the United States illegally and shouldn't be here. They came legally and they should be here, and they should be allowed to work if they're not a safety problem.
Hmm. Hmm. Another issue I want to discuss with you, Congressman Thompson. In your area, there was only one peach cannery, Del Monte, that suddenly did bankruptcy. Lot of farmers, hundreds and thousands of farmers, their also ground was shaken, like what they're gonna do next. And you, with other congressmen, helped secure $9 million funding for those farmers. Why did this happen all of a sudden, and how hard was this task for these to get 9 million for these farmers?
Well, it's never easy to get money from the federal government, but I was invited to meet with the peach farmers and to hear their problem and hear their concerns, and it was very real. They did nothing wrong. They signed contracts to provide peaches to Del Monte. They invested in these orchards. They tilled the land, they planted the trees, they nurtured the trees up to be a producing orchard. And then Del Monte, as you point out, filed bankruptcy and they had no home for their fruit. So they were really at a disaster level situation. And they wanted to know what I thought I could do to help. I suggested two options.
Hmm.
Was to help them secure a loan to buy the cannery
Hmm.
and run it as a cooperative
Hmm.
operation. One of the problems there, two major problems. One is the lack of demand for the peaches, and two was that a lot of the equipment had already been removed from the cannery, so it would not have been a turnkey operation. And then the second suggestion I had was to try and get disaster funding for these farmers.
Hmm.
We've done it before. We've used it in other areas to help the farmers pull out the crops that were that
They were planted.
no longer
Hmm.
able to be used to generate the fruit. And they had a vote, and they voted to go for the tree removal program. And
Hmm.
I brought that back to Washington. The other congressman that you're referencing wasn't in Congress then. Was James Gallagher, who was in the state assembly, and he worked with me. He helped me contact colleagues. We got every member of the Congress from California, both Democrats and Republicans, to join our effort. And we
Hmm.
were able to work with the administration and explain the severity of this situation. This isn't just a bunch of farmers who are being hurt. This is the entire community, because
Yeah.
when you take that kind of money out of a community, that affects everything from the gas station to the grocery store to all the charitable donations that are made and all the jobs that are created.
Hmm.
So we made our case. The administration agreed with us,
Hmm.
and they were able to provide us the $9 million that we asked for to be able to help those farmers remove those orchards, and then they could move on and plant something else.
Congressman Thompson, do you think, like, USDA's own estimate says that that's $30 million in losses? Like, do you think this 9 million? I know, as you mentioned earlier, that it's hard to get any money from the federal government. Uh, how do you see their future? Like, I know 9 million is not enough to cover 30 million. So, what do you want to say to those farmers, those communities now?
Well, I think it was an important appropriation that provided some help to farmers when they're removing those trees. And I think we continue to look at options to help our ag community. Our ag community is really hurting right now, not just peaches. Everybody in
Everybody.
agriculture is hurting right now. Fuel prices are way up. The tariffs have cost us a lot, and they've fallen heavily on the ag sector. So a combination of all of this, and then you add things like this California this commercial driver's license issue that further harms agriculture and the communities that are hurting from all the other things that we talked about. So we need to continue to figure out how our government at every level can work with agriculture, because if we don't have food, we're in trouble. That is not only, it's not only a food security issue, it's a national security issue. And we feed my district alone feeds a big part of California, the United States of America, and the world. We ship our agricultural products around the world. And it is important that we continue to do that, both for our local economy, our state economy, and our federal economy.
Definitely. Congressman, like as you mentioned, like you guys worked across the aisle. In this such a divided political scenario happening in USA right now, how was it like going across the aisle, being bipartisan? Like these things are become these issues look like they are foreign to American voters now. Being bipartisan, it's so divided. Like now, what do you want to say to voters now?
Well, I think it's important that we work together. I'm a Democrat, and I'm always going to be a Democrat. And there are certain things that you don't compromise on as a Democrat, as there are things that you don't compromise on when you're a Republican. But there are so many things. There is so much that we can get done by working together. We can address a lot of the problems that are facing the everyday American workers, and we should come together to get things done that helps the American people every way that we possibly can.
Yeah. Congressman, before I know you have a very busy schedule, there are a lot of things happening in Washington, D.C. as well. I just wanted to ask about the affordability issue. I'm pretty sure it's same for your constituents as across the country. What do you want to tell to your constituents, to the listeners of our radio station, to the viewers? Like, what is going to happen to to the money, to the economy? What's coming?
Well, I think you're absolutely correct. Families across my district and across the country are doing everything right, but they're still falling behind because the costs continue to rise. And there's a lot of things that we can do. I'm the author of legislation, the American Affordability Act, which deals with affordable housing, lowering energy costs, more affordable child care and health care. And these are things that really touch working families and will help them a lot. But we need to focus our attention on making things more affordable, making it easier for working families to get by and get ahead. It's not enough just to squeak by. We've got to be able to pave the runway to make sure people can prosper. And I'm doing everything I can. Speaking of affordability and working together, the Congress just passed week before last the 21st Century Road to Housing Bill, which is going to make housing more affordable and allow people to have cheaper rents and be able to afford a mortgage on a house. And that's a prime example of what you were talking about. That was both sides of the aisle came together, identified areas that were causing home ownership to slip away and housing opportunities to slip away. And we addressed those. It's not everything, but it's a real good start. And it's just an example of what we can do when we work together. And housing is one of the issues that is not only unaffordable, but
Mhm.
it is a problem for people in every community, not just in my district, but across the country.
Sure.
So we need to continue to work on that. That's why I have a major housing component in my Affordability Act. And I just met with the mayors, California mayors, a couple of
Okay.
weeks ago, and they are really excited about this 21st Century Road to Housing Act that I mentioned that we just passed. And
Hmm.
they're even more excited about my Affordability Act because of the tax provisions for home ownership and for building homes. They told me that that is really going to supercharge our effort to put more homes on the market and help people get housing.
Hmm. Definitely. So we're looking forward to these positive signs from the Congress. They can do something when they come together. They can actually help American families across the country. Before you leave, Congressman, immigration has been a big issue, as we mentioned in in the program first, when we started, that the immigration crackdown leads up to the CDL issue. We have seen a lot of deaths by ICE agents. So recently, in last 2 weeks, two deaths have happened. Punjabis are also an immigrant community over here. A lot of our listeners or your constituents might be fearing that that can come to their community as well. What do you think should be the roadmap to this?
Well, I think to start at the top, I think we need to do comprehensive immigration reform. That's going to be very, very difficult to do, but we need to continue to work on it. And if we can do small pieces of that, if we can do it incrementally, we should. But we should have our sights set on comprehensive immigration reform. And I continue to work on that. On the specific issue of ICE, you're absolutely correct. ICE is out of control. And we went through, I led the effort against Kristi Noem and getting her removed from her job because she created a rogue agency in ICE, and we saw what happened. It disrupted communities. People were killed. It was tragic. People are scared to death. And now we just had a couple of additional killings, and we need to do a couple things about that. We need a full and transparent investigation, and we need to fix the problems that ICE has. I was against the creation of ICE because I didn't think that it had proper oversight, and I didn't think it had proper guardrails. And I'm sad to say I was correct. And we've seen the fallout from no oversight, no guardrails, and not proper construction of this entity. No one believes that people who are breaking the law should get away with breaking the law. Nobody believes that anybody who is a criminal and sneaks into our country should be allowed to stay in our country. But we do need to have an agency that is a law-abiding agency, not a rogue agency. ICE needs to restructure how they hire people. I think they have 40 or 45 days of training. There's
Hmm.
not a police agency in the country that has 45 days training.
Hmm.
I have a son who is a deputy sheriff, and he went through major training. And
Hmm.
he's a captain with one of the local sheriff's department, and he just got back last week from doing a month-long course at the FBI Academy. So they
Hmm.
continue to get trained. So we need to have proper screening. So we're bringing people in who are compatible
Hmm.
with the job that they're going to be required to do. We need to make sure that they're trained appropriately. They need to wear body cameras. They need to only work with judicial warrants. You don't just go kick somebody's door in and haul them out because you think they might be the bad guy. There's a legal process for doing that. No masks, no police insignias, because all that does is cause problems with our local police departments and our sheriff's offices in building trust with the communities that they're in charge with policing. Keep the masks off, put the body cameras on, screen them well, vet them well before they're brought into the agency, and make sure they get the training that they need. And then have the structural, the structure and process in place to make sure that they do their job correctly, just like any police department or sheriff's office would do.
Congressman Thompson, just one last question. There was recently DOJ FBI Operation Hardball. Indian transnational repression issues came to limelight. The foreign government of India is using these criminal organizations to silence dissidents, to silence Sikh Americans, to silence Sikh activists. What are your initial thoughts on these? So, how can we go ahead and stop this transnational repression by foreign governments?
Well, I think people need to be able to speak their mind. We have free speech. It's in our Constitution, and that needs to be protected. Anybody who is a criminal is someone who needs to face the consequences of being a criminal. But nobody should be singled out because are unfairly targeted based on their religion or their race. So we need to make sure that everybody is treated equally under the law, and anyone who commits a crime is held accountable. And my commitment is to make sure that happens, and nobody should be silenced under false pretenses.
Before you leave, what do you want to tell all the people, say all the Sikh Americans, Punjabi truck drivers, the farmers over there? What do you want to tell them? Like, how do you think things can change for them?
Well, I want to say thank you. The beauty of our community and the strength of our community is our diversity. We need to come together and stand strong. I want you to know that if there's anything I can ever do, you can contact me. If it's the closure of a cannery, or it's the foolish prohibition against truck drivers, or anything in between. My job is to help, and that's what I want to do. So thank you for what you do, and I look forward to working with you if there's any way that I can help you.
Thank you, Congressman Thompson. Thank you for your time, and we wish you good luck getting these issues resolved. Thank you.
All right. Thank you so much. And anytime you want to talk, I'm available.
Thank you. Thank you.